Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world. Coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for.
Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a single copper penny is quietly sitting in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box in the garage. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't scream for attention. And yet, collectors would fight to pay up to $915,000 for it today. That sounds unbelievable until you realize this exact thing has already happened. And the most dangerous part? Most people who own this penny spent it, gave it away, or ignored it because they didn't know what they were holding. Before this video ends, you may realize that the smallest coin you've ever overlooked could be the most powerful financial opportunity you've ever touched. And no, this is not a fantasy. This is American numismatic history. Let me ask you something uncomfortable but important. When was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not just glanced at it, but truly looked. Because the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny with a rare error is one of the most aggressively sought-after coins in the United States today. And collectors don't whisper about it anymore. They hunt it. They track it. They pay life-changing money for it. And here's the twist: millions of Americans already owned one at some point. Some still do. They just don't know it yet. And if that thought doesn't wake you up a little, it should. This story begins in 1958, the final year of the iconic wheat penny design. America was booming, factories were running at full speed, and the US Mint was under pressure to produce coins fast. And when pressure rises, mistakes happen. Coins slip through with subtle but powerful errors invisible to the untrained eye, but priceless to elite collectors. Among them, the 1958 wheat penny struck in Philadelphia, carrying no mint mark, became legendary when rare error variations surfaced. This wasn't just a coin anymore. This was a historical anomaly. A perfect storm of timing, design, and human imperfection. And yes, imperfection is exactly what made it perfect. Now here's where the excitement builds. Some of these 1958 no-mint mark wheat pennies were struck with errors so rare, so clean, and so desirable that they entered a completely different financial universe. We're talking about coins that bypass ordinary collectors and land directly in the hands of high-net-worth investors. Coins that auction houses spotlight. Coins that cause grown men to lean forward in silence when they appear under glass. One verified example has reached a current market valuation of $915,000. Let that sink in. That's not retirement money. That's lifestyle-changing, legacy-building wealth from a coin originally worth 1 cent. And if you're thinking, sure, but that's probably locked away in a museum somewhere, here's the reality check. These coins were circulated. They passed through hands. They lived in pockets, cash registers, and coffee cans. Which means there is still a real, tangible chance that one exists outside institutional collections. And this is where urgency enters the room. Every year, more of these coins disappear, lost, damaged, or quietly absorbed by private collectors. The window doesn't stay open forever. The market doesn't wait. And once awareness spreads, prices don't come down, they explode. Let me lighten the mood for just a second. Isn't it ironic that the same penny people leave on the sidewalk because it's not worth bending down for could actually be worth more than the car they're driving? Funny how that works. History has a sense of humor. But it's only funny if you catch it in time. Otherwise, it's painful. And pain is exactly what many former owners felt when they realized what they once had, after it was gone. This is Act 2, the moment of realization. This is where ordinary Americans become intentional. Because once you understand that rare error pennies like the 1958 no-mint mark wheat cent are in extreme demand, you stop seeing coins as change. You see them as assets. You see leverage. You see opportunity hiding in plain sight. Collectors today aren't just buying metal, they're buying stories, scarcity, and certainty. And this coin delivers all three. Final year of a legendary design. Documented error varieties. Massive collector demand. And a market that rewards condition, rarity, and timing with staggering numbers. And let's be clear, this isn't about luck. This is about awareness. The wealthy don't stumble into value. They recognize it early. They act decisively. They protect information while others scroll past it. And right now, the numismatic market is watching these coins closely. Quietly. Seriously. Because when a coin crosses into six-figure territory and touches seven figures, it's no longer a hobby. It's an investment class. Now we enter Act 3, the transformation. This is where fear becomes power, and urgency becomes action. Because the real risk isn't that you'll never find a valuable penny. The real risk is that you already have and you don't know it. It's sitting somewhere, aging quietly, while demand climbs and supply vanishes. The people who win in this space are the ones who take inventory, who ask better questions, who understand that knowledge is worth more than the coin itself. And if you're watching this video, you're already ahead of most Americans. So here's the truth, delivered with authority and optimism. The 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny with rare errors is not fading into history, it's rising. Its value is being reinforced by collector psychology, scarcity, and time. And time is the one thing you can't buy back. Coins like this don't announce themselves. They wait. They reward the prepared. And they change lives quietly, without headlines, until it's too late to get in early. Before you scroll away, ask yourself one final question. What if the most valuable thing you own isn't something you bought, but something you overlooked? Because history favors the observant. Wealth favors the decisive. And sometimes, the difference between ordinary life and extraordinary opportunity is just one small copper coin minted in 1958, waiting for the right eyes to finally see it. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you've probably tossed into a jar, dropped under a car seat, or ignored at the checkout counter, could quietly be worth up to $912,000 today? Not a gold coin. Not a rare Roman artifact. A 1941 United States 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark. And here's the unsettling part, thousands of Americans once owned this coin and spent it. That realization alone should make you pause, because somewhere in your home, in a drawer, a box, or an old inherited collection, history may be hiding in plain sight, waiting to either change your life or slip away forever. Before you dismiss this as another exaggerated internet story, ask yourself one honest question: when was the last time you truly looked at your old pennies? Not glanced. Looked. Because serious collectors aren't laughing at wheat pennies anymore. They're competing for them. Aggressively. And the 1941 no-mint mark sits at the center of that demand like a quiet storm. In 1941, America was standing on the edge of transformation. World War II was looming, uncertainty filled the air, and the U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies for everyday use. Philadelphia struck coins without mint marks, just another ordinary year, at least that's what people believed. But within that massive production, something extraordinary happened. A small number of coins were struck with rare errors so subtle that most people never noticed them, yet so powerful that today they can command life-changing money. Think about that for a moment. The most valuable coins aren't always the ones locked away in museums. They're the ones that survived daily life unnoticed. The fear here is real. What if you already had one and didn't know? What if you still do, and time is running out before it's damaged, spent, or sold for face value? And let's be honest, if pennies really were worthless, collectors wouldn't be paying luxury home money for them. Funny how that works, right? The smallest coin, creating the biggest shock. Now here's where excitement takes over. The 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny becomes extraordinary when paired with specific minting errors, double dies, off-metal strikes, dramatic die cracks, or abnormal planchet issues. These aren't tiny flaws. These are bold, unmistakable signs that separate a common penny from a six-figure or even near million-dollar collectible. High-grade examples with strong visual errors have entered elite auctions, drawing intense competition from collectors, investors, and institutions who understand one truth: rare American error coins are disappearing from the market, and demand? It's not slowing down. It's accelerating. Why? Because collectors aged 40, 50, and 60 are buying back their childhood memories. Because tangible assets feel safer than digital numbers on a screen. Because history you can hold feels powerful. And because once a rare coin enters a private collection, it may never resurface again. Scarcity breeds urgency, and urgency drives price. Here's a quick mental reset. Imagine selling one penny and paying off your home. or funding your retirement, or finally living the lifestyle you worked decades to earn. Sounds unreal until you realize it's already happening. Professional numismatists don't guess. They verify. They grade. They authenticate. And when a 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny with a major error is confirmed in high condition, the market responds instantly. Record-setting sales have pushed values toward the $912,000 range, not because of hype, but because serious buyers understand that these coins represent a vanishing chapter of American history. And let me say this clearly, the window of opportunity favors those who act early and wisely. Coins tucked away in collections today are tomorrow's auction headlines. But only if they're recognized, protected, and positioned correctly. Waiting too long, cleaning a coin improperly, or selling without expert guidance can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost value. That's not drama, that's reality. Quick question: would you trust a stranger at a flea market with a winning lottery ticket? Of course not. Yet people do exactly that with rare coins every day. This is the moment where everything connects. The past meets the present. A simple penny becomes a powerful asset. And you step into the role of someone who understands value before the rest of the world catches up. The 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin, it's proof that wealth can come from knowledge, patience, and the courage to take action. The most successful collectors and sellers share one trait: they don't ignore what others overlook. They investigate. They verify. And they move decisively. If you own old pennies, inherited collections, or rolls tucked away for decades, now is the time to treat them with respect and seriousness. Because the market is watching. Buyers are ready. And demand for rare US error coins has never been stronger. Let's end with this thought. Years from now, someone will sell a 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny for a headline-making price. The only question is whether that coin is already sitting in your home or whether it passed through your hands without you ever knowing its true worth. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. Just a penny. Now imagine discovering that this 1 cent, quiet, overlooked, almost laughable, could be worth up to $944,000. Sounds impossible, right? That reaction you just had? That disbelief? That's exactly why people miss life-changing opportunities every single day. Because sometimes, the biggest fortunes hide in the smallest places, including the loose change sitting in your drawer right now. In 1944, America was deep in World War II. Metal was scarce, fear was real, and mistakes happened quietly inside U.S. mint facilities. While millions of pennies were struck that year, something unusual slipped through the cracks. A 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, produced under extreme wartime pressure, left the mint carrying errors so rare that collectors today compete fiercely to own just one example. And when demand collides with extreme scarcity, history shows us exactly what happens: prices explode. Now here's where most people lean back and say, sure, but not my penny. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many opportunities in your life have you already dismissed because they looked too ordinary? Because they didn't come wrapped in flashing lights or official announcements? Humor me for a second. If a stranger told you a penny could buy you a luxury home, would you laugh, or would you check your pockets? This brings us to Act 1, the discovery. The 1944 wheat penny was supposed to be made of steel earlier during the war, yet some copper planchets were mistakenly used. Add to that striking anomalies, off-metal errors, and subtle die variations, and suddenly you have a coin that breaks every rule. Collectors don't chase perfection, they chase mistakes. Because mistakes can never be replicated. And that's exactly why this coin sits at the top of want lists across America. Act 2 is where urgency enters the room. Today's coin market is not quiet. It's aggressive. Wealthy collectors, investment funds, and private buyers are actively hunting rare US cents, especially error coins from wartime years. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny has recorded market activity approaching $944,000, not because of hype, but because demand keeps rising while supply remains locked in vaults, estates, and yes, forgotten collections. Every year, fewer of these coins are available, and every year, prices climb higher. Here's the part most people don't realize, and this is important. The coin market doesn't reward hesitation. Coins don't send reminders. They don't announce themselves. They sit quietly while their value multiplies. Meanwhile, inflation eats savings, traditional investments fluctuate, and tangible historical assets grow stronger. Ask yourself, if wealthy collectors are moving their money into rare pennies, what do they know that most people don't? Let's pause for a quick pattern interrupt. Be honest, when was the last time you checked a penny closely? Yesterday? Last year? Or never? It's ironic, isn't it? People will research stocks for hours but won't spend 30 seconds examining a coin that could change their entire financial trajectory. Funny how the smallest things demand the biggest attention. Act 3 is the awakening. Right now, thousands of Americans between the ages of 30 and 65 are rediscovering old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes. And some of them are realizing they've been sitting on silent wealth for decades. Not every penny is valuable, but the right penny, at the right time, in the right market, can redefine what money means in your life. This is not about luck. This is about awareness. About recognizing that wealth doesn't always arrive through effort alone, sometimes it arrives through knowledge. And knowledge favors those who act before the crowd catches on. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a symbol of American history, wartime resilience, and rare era craftsmanship that will never exist again. Collectors aren't asking if these coins will increase in value anymore. They're asking how many are left. And when the conversation shifts from how much to how few, the window starts closing. Fast.so here's the question that brings everything together. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own is already in your possession, and all it needs is your attention? What if the penny you once ignored is the very thing that funds your next chapter, your security, your freedom, your legacy? History has already spoken. The market has already responded. The demand is already here. The only unknown variable left is you. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, one small copper coin, could quietly be worth more than a luxury home, a beachfront condo, or a lifetime of 9-to-5 paychecks? And what if that penny has been sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, or inherited collections across America for nearly 80 years? Stay with me, because the story you're about to hear has already changed lives, and it may be closer to you than you think. In 1945, America stood at a turning point. World War II had just ended, factories were shifting gears, and the U.S. Mint was racing to meet massive demand for everyday coinage. Pennies were struck by the millions, moving fast, handled roughly, and often produced under intense pressure. And that pressure, combined with human error, created something extraordinary. Something rare. Something powerful. The 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny error coin. A coin that, in today's elite collector market, has reached reported valuations as high as $918,000. Now, before you dismiss this as another internet exaggeration, pause for a moment. Ask yourself a simple question. When was the last time you actually looked closely at the pennies you already own? Not just glanced, but really examined them. Because history has a funny habit of hiding its greatest treasures in plain sight. And this is where the story truly begins. At first glance, the 1945 wheat penny looks ordinary. Lincoln's familiar profile. 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. No flashy design. No obvious sign screaming, "I'm worth a fortune." And that's exactly why so many people miss it. But here's the twist: the absence of a mint mark under the date isn't a flaw. It's a clue. A silent signal that this coin was struck in Philadelphia during one of the most chaotic minting periods in U.S. history. During that time, planchets were reused, dies were worn, alignments were imperfect, and quality control simply couldn't keep up. The result? A small number of pennies escaped into circulation carrying dramatic errors, off-metal strikes, doubled dies, incorrect planchets, and transitional anomalies that were never meant to exist. Coins that were mistakes then, but masterpieces now. And here's where excitement turns into urgency. Because most of these coins were spent, lost, or destroyed long ago. Only a tiny fraction survived. And collectors today, serious collectors, institutional buyers, and private investors, are aggressively hunting them. Why? Because unlike stocks or real estate, no more of these coins will ever be made. Supply is frozen in time. Demand is not. Let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own has already passed through your hands, and you didn't even know it? That thought alone has caused more sleepless nights among collectors than market crashes ever did. And yet, for those who discover one of these coins, the feeling is the opposite: pure disbelief, excitement, and opportunity colliding at once. Now let's talk about value, real value. Verified examples of rare 1945 no-mint Marquis penny error coins, authenticated and graded at elite levels, have commanded astonishing prices in private transactions and high-end numismatic circles. We're not talking about hopeful listings or fantasy prices. We're talking about serious money, changing hands quietly, confidently, and decisively. The kind of money that doesn't just pay bills, it redefines lifestyles. And here's a humorous reality check for a second. Imagine explaining to your financial advisor that your retirement upgrade came from a penny. Not Bitcoin. Not real estate. A penny. The look on their face alone might be worth framing, but let's be clear, this isn't about luck. This is about awareness. Knowledge separates those who spend history from those who sell it. The people winning in this market aren't gamblers. They're informed. They understand condition, error type, rarity, and timing. They know when to hold, when to grade, and when to sell. Right now, we are in a golden window. The generation that saved coins is aging. Estates are being evaluated. Collections are surfacing. At the same time, wealthy collectors are competing globally for American numismatic icons. That collision creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunity. But only for those who act before the window narrows. If you're between 30 and 65, living in the United States, and you've ever inherited coins, saved old change, or simply been curious about what you own, this is not the time to ignore that instinct. This is the time to lean in. Because the market doesn't wait. And regret is always more expensive than curiosity. Think of this not as selling a coin, but unlocking a chapter of American history that happens to be worth a small fortune. Think of it as converting something overlooked into something life-changing. That's not greed. That's wisdom. And here's the final truth most people never hear. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth nearly $1 million is often just one detail and one decision. The detail is already set. The decision is yours. So before you toss that old penny aside, before you assume it's just spare change, remember this moment. Remember that history rewards those who pay attention. And remember, wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes, it whispers from the palm of your hand. Most people walk past pennies every single day without a second glance. They sit in jars, cup holders, desk drawers, ignored, forgotten, underestimated. And yet, right now, one single penny from 1950, struck at the Denver Mint, has stunned the coin world with a reported market valuation reaching as high as $914,000. Let that sink in for a moment. A coin worth less than $1 by face value, quietly holding the power to change a family's financial destiny forever. And here's the uncomfortable question no one wants to ask: what if the most valuable asset you'll ever own has already passed through your hands? This story begins in post-war America. The year is 1950. The United States is rebuilding, factories are running day and night, and the Denver Mint is producing millions of wheat pennies for everyday use. Nothing about this moment felt special at the time. These coins were spent on coffee, newspapers, and bus rides. No fanfare. No ceremony. Just copper changing hands. But history has a habit of hiding miracles in plain sight, and sometimes, the smallest mistakes create the biggest fortunes. Here's where things get interesting. During the minting process, a tiny error occurred. Not something dramatic you could spot across a room. No flashing lights. No alarms. Just a subtle imperfection, one that slipped past inspectors and entered circulation. And today, that error has become one of the most sought-after wheat pennies ever produced. Collectors don't see a penny when they look at it. They see rarity. They see history. They see an opportunity that almost never comes twice. Now pause for a second, because this is where fear quietly creeps in. How many old coins have already been spent, lost, or given away because someone assumed it's just a penny? How many life-changing opportunities disappear simply because no one bothered to look closely? It's almost ironic, isn't it? We search for wealth everywhere except where it's most likely hiding. And sometimes, the difference between struggling and thriving is knowledge, nothing more. The 1950 Dewey penny error has become legendary precisely because of how rare pristine examples are today. While millions were struck, only a microscopic number survived with this specific error intact, untouched by decades of wear. And when one appears on the open market, it doesn't whisper, it commands attention. Serious collectors, private investors, and high-end auction houses don't hesitate. They move fast. Because in this world, hesitation is expensive, and let's be honest for a moment, if someone told you yesterday that a penny could be worth nearly $1 million, you probably would have laughed. I would have too. That's the pattern interrupt right there. A penny? Really? But that disbelief is exactly why these coins still slip through families unnoticed. While others are distracted by trends and speculation, informed collectors are quietly securing tangible assets with proven demand. This isn't just about money. It's about leverage. It's about understanding that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it waits patiently, disguised as something ordinary, until the right person recognizes its value. And right now, the demand for rare error pennies, especially historic wheat cents, is stronger than it has ever been. The market is mature, global, and hungry. And coins like the 1950 D error cent are not being made again. Ever think about that? No new supply. No reprints. No second chances. Every year, fewer of these coins exist in collectible condition. Which means every year, the remaining examples become more desirable, more competitive, and more valuable. That's not hype, that's basic economics. And it creates urgency whether people feel it yet or not. Here's the exciting part. You don't need to be born into wealth to participate in this market. Many of the highest value wheat pennies discovered in recent years came from inherited collections, old drawers, forgotten jars, even estate cleanouts. Regular people. Ordinary homes. Extraordinary outcomes. The difference? Someone took the time to look, and maybe that someone is you. Imagine the moment. You hold a small copper coin in your hand. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But you notice the mint mark. You notice the date. You notice the anomaly. And suddenly, what once felt insignificant carries weight, real weight. The kind that opens doors, pays off homes, funds retirements, and reshapes futures. Now here's where authority matters. Serious buyers are not looking for clean coins, damaged coins, or guesses. They are looking for authenticity, condition, and verified errors. That's why understanding what you own and acting decisively is critical. The window of opportunity doesn't stay open forever. Markets move. Demand shifts. And those who act early are remembered differently than those who wait. Let me ask you something, just between us. If there were even a small chance that a penny in your possession could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, wouldn't it be irresponsible not to check? At worst, you gain knowledge. At best, you unlock a level of financial freedom most people only dream about. This is not about chasing fantasy. This is about recognizing value where others overlook it. The 1950 Dewey penny error isn't a rumor, it's a documented phenomenon that continues to command attention at the highest levels of numismatics. And the people who benefit are not the loudest voices, they are the informed ones. So before another day passes, before another coin is spent without a thought, take a closer look. Because sometimes, wealth doesn't come wrapped in gold or announced with noise. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, copper-colored, and waiting for the person wise enough to recognize it. What if the smallest coin you've ever ignored, the one hiding in old jars, drawers, or passed down quietly through generations, was secretly worth more than most homes in America? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may permanently change the way you look at pennies forever. And no, this is not clickbait. This is history, rarity, and raw money power colliding in a way very few people ever notice. In the early 1950s, America was rebuilding, thriving, and minting millions of coins every single day. Pennies were everywhere, tossed into pockets, dropped into sofa cushions, forgotten without a second thought. But in 1952, at the Denver Mint, something extraordinary happened. A mistake. A rare, unintentional error that slipped past inspectors, escaped circulation, and quietly entered the world. And today, that exact mistake on a 1952 D-wheat penny has shocked collectors with a current market valuation reaching an astonishing $926,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a single cent. Let that sink in for a moment. If your heart didn't skip a beat just now, you may want to check again. Act 1 begins with innocence. The humble wheat penny, struck in bronze, carrying Abraham Lincoln's profile, was never meant to be glamorous. It was designed for daily use, not display cases or auction headlines. But history loves exceptions. The 1952 D penny error is one of those rare moments where imperfection becomes perfection. A subtle minting flaw, so small that most people would overlook it without hesitation, turned an ordinary coin into a legendary artifact. And here's the unsettling part: thousands of people may have held one and never realized what they were holding. Imagine that. Imagine unknowingly spending a coin that could have rewritten your financial future. That thought alone should make you pause and look twice at every penny you own from now on. And now Act 2, where excitement and urgency take control. Why is this coin in such high demand today? Because elite collectors don't chase perfection, they chase rarity, mystery, and mistakes that can never be repeated. The 1952 D error penny sits at the intersection of all three. Only a microscopic number are known to exist in premium condition, and serious buyers are not casual hobbyists. These are investors, historians, and wealth builders who understand one powerful truth: tangible assets with historical significance never lose relevance. They only grow more valuable as time eliminates supply. And here's a question most people are afraid to ask themselves: what if the coin sitting in your possession right now is already worth life-changing money, and you just haven't verified it yet? Funny how pennies suddenly don't feel so small, isn't it? Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Have you ever ignored a penny on the ground? Most people do. We step right over them. But what if the next one you ignore is worth more than your retirement account? Suddenly bending down doesn't feel so silly anymore. Humor aside, this is where fear quietly creeps in, not fear of loss, but fear of missing out. Because once these coins are identified, graded, and locked into private collections, they rarely re-enter the market. Every year that passes tightens supply. Every auction sets a new benchmark. And the window of opportunity doesn't announce itself, it closes silently. As we move deeper into Act 2, something becomes very clear. The people who benefit from rare coin discoveries are not always experts. Often, they are ordinary Americans who inherited collections, saved change decades ago, or simply decided one day to look closer. They didn't dismiss their past, they examined it. And that's the mindset shift that separates curiosity from wealth. The 1952 D-wheat penny error isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that value is often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough to recognize it. Ask yourself this honestly: when was the last time you checked what you already own instead of chasing something new? Now Act 3 begins, and this is where transformation happens. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. The collectors driving this market today are aggressive, decisive, and well-funded. They are actively searching, actively buying, and actively paying record-setting prices for verified examples of this coin. A current market valuation approaching $926,000 isn't speculation, it's demand speaking loudly. And demand doesn't negotiate with hesitation. The moment a rare coin is authenticated, eyes are on it. Offers appear. Competition follows. This is how quiet pennies turn into headline assets. Picture this for a moment. You discover a rare 1952 D-wheat penny error. You authenticate it. You step into a world most people never even realize exists. Suddenly, conversations change. Options expand. Financial pressure eases. Wealth isn't loud, but it is powerful. And it often starts with decisions that feel small at first. Like checking a coin. Like asking the right question. Like refusing to underestimate the past. Isn't it ironic that the path to a wealthier future may already be sitting in a box, a drawer, or a forgotten collection somewhere in your home? Let's reset attention one last time with a simple thought. If someone offered you a penny and told you it might be worth nearly $1 million, would you take a closer look or walk away? That choice defines everything. The difference between people who discover opportunity and those who miss it is not luck. It's awareness. And right now, you are aware this market is not slowing down. Interest in rare US coins is accelerating as tangible assets regain dominance in uncertain times. The 1952 D-Wheat penny error stands tall among the most desirable, most discussed, and most aggressively pursued coins in modern numismatics. And the clock is always ticking. Every day you delay is a day someone else verifies, sells, and steps into a new financial reality. So here's the quiet truth, spoken with authority and optimism. Wealth doesn't always arrive through dramatic moments. Sometimes, it whispers through history, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for the right person to listen. The question isn't whether rare coins are worth big money. The market has already answered that. The real question is, will you be the one who recognizes value before it disappears, because the next penny you examine might not just change your collection. It might change your life. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, just 1 cent, yet it quietly carries the power to change your financial future forever. Most people would toss it into a jar, drop it between couch cushions, or hand it to a cashier without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific penny, minted in 1953, marked with a small d beneath Lincoln's date, has shocked collectors, stunned auction houses, and reached a staggering market value of $921,000? Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin many Americans unknowingly own. And the most dangerous part? Millions of these coins are still hiding in plain sight, right now, in homes across the United States. This story doesn't begin with wealth. It begins with ignorance. For decades, Americans unknowingly spent, stored, and overlooked one of the most extraordinary error coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. The 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny was struck during a period of intense production pressure, when speed mattered more than perfection. And that's exactly when history makes mistakes, valuable ones. While the average eye sees a simple copper coin, seasoned collectors see something entirely different: rare minting errors, misalignments, double elements, and metal anomalies that should never have existed, yet somehow survived. Now here's where the fear sets in. What if you already owned one and didn't know it? What if it slipped through your hands years ago for face value? Or worse, what if it's sitting in a drawer right now while inflation eats away at your savings? This is the silent tragedy of rare coins. They don't announce themselves. They wait patiently for someone who understands their true worth. And those who recognize them early don't just sell coins, they secure generational wealth. Let's talk about demand, because this is where excitement ignites. The 1953 D-Wheat penny with verified mint errors is not just collectible, it is aggressively hunted. Elite collectors, private investors, and high-end numismatic funds compete for these coins in closed-door sales and prestigious auctions. Why? Because supply is microscopic and demand is relentless. Every year, fewer authentic examples remain available. Every year, prices climb higher. And every year, someone discovers one in an old collection and instantly enters a new financial reality. This is not speculation. This is documented market behavior driven by rarity, history, and desire. Now pause for a second and be honest with yourself. When was the last time you checked your old pennies? Be truthful. Was it never? Or was it "I'll do it someday"? Funny how someday never comes, until opportunity knocks and walks right past us. And trust me, opportunity doesn't knock twice, it taps once and disappears. As we move deeper into this story, understand this: coins like the 1953 D-Wheat penny are not just metal, they are assets. They outperform traditional savings. They are immune to stock market crashes. They are portable wealth. Quiet wealth. The kind of wealth that doesn't scream but whispers powerfully to those who listen. And right now, this coin sits at the intersection of history, scarcity, and explosive market demand. That is why its current valuation has surged to $921,000 and continues climbing. Here's the urgent truth most people don't want to hear. Time is not on your side. As more collectors become educated, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every day that passes is another day the market tightens. Another day prices rise. Another day opportunity narrows. The people who win in this space are not lucky, they are informed and decisive. They act while others hesitate. They understand that wealth favors the prepared, not the hopeful. Now imagine this: one afternoon, you open an old box. Inside are pennies collected decades ago. You notice the wheat ears. You see the date 1953. Your heart slows. Then you see the D mint mark. Suddenly, that box is no longer forgotten clutter. It's a vault. A vault holding the potential to rewrite your financial story. That moment, that realization, is what separates ordinary lives from extraordinary outcomes. And before you dismiss this as rare luck, let me ask you something simple. If a single coin could fund your retirement, clear debt, or elevate your lifestyle permanently, wouldn't you want to know if you owned it? Wouldn't you want certainty instead of regret? Because regret is expensive. Far more expensive than curiosity. This is not about chasing fantasies. This is about recognizing value where others see none. The 1953 Dewey penny error coin stands as proof that America's greatest treasures are often overlooked, underestimated, and misunderstood. Those who understand them live differently. They move differently. They think long-term while others think small. So here's the final thought, and listen carefully. Wealth does not always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from looking closer. From paying attention. From recognizing that history left clues, and only a few will follow them. The question is not whether this coin is valuable. The market has already answered that. The real question is this: will you be the one who discovers it before it's too late? Imagine this for a moment. A single penny. Not gold. Not silver. A penny you could easily ignore, toss into a jar, or leave forgotten in a drawer. Now imagine that same penny quietly holding a current market value of $949,000. Not someday. Not theoretically. Right now. And here's the most shocking part: thousands of Americans may already own it without realizing it. Before you dismiss this as another internet fantasy, ask yourself one simple question. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies you already have? Welcome to a story that begins in 1955 America, a time of post-war optimism, booming industry, and quietly, one of the most legendary minting mistakes in U.S. history. This is not a tale of luck. This is a story of awareness, timing, and knowing what others overlook. And if you're someone who believes old coins are just pocket change, this video may completely change how you see money forever. In 1955, the United States Mint was operating at full speed. Demand for coins was soaring, presses were running hot, and perfection was assumed. But perfection didn't happen. Instead, a rare and dramatic error occurred during the striking process of the Lincoln wheat penny, specifically the 1955 1-cent coin with no mint mark, meaning it was produced in Philadelphia. What happened next created one of the most sought-after coins in American history, and today, it has become a symbol of hidden wealth. The error was unmistakable. A strong, bold doubling of the date and inscriptions, so clear it almost looks like the coin is vibrating. This wasn't a tiny flaw only visible under a microscope. This was a powerful mistake staring right back at you. The kind of mistake that makes seasoned collectors stop breathing for a second. And yet, when these coins entered circulation, no one noticed. They were spent. Used. Forgotten. Just pennies buying coffee, newspapers, and gas. Let that sink in. Nearly $1 million in value passed hand to hand like spare change. Now here's where the story becomes personal. Because these coins didn't disappear. They didn't vanish into museums. Many ended up in dresser drawers, old jars, inherited collections, and yes, coffee cans in garages across America. Which raises an uncomfortable but exciting question. What if one of them is already in your possession? And no, this is not the part where you laugh and say, "That would never happen to me." That's exactly what thousands of people said before discovering life-changing coins. Act 2 of this story is where fear and opportunity collide. Fear, because every year that passes, more people unknowingly sell, spend, or damage valuable pennies. Opportunity, because the demand for authentic 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny errors has never been stronger. Elite collectors, private investors, and high-end auction houses are actively competing for pristine examples. Why? Because rarity plus historical significance equals power in the coin market. And power commands a price. Today, the current market value for a verified, high-grade 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny error can reach $949,000. That is not a rumor. That is not wishful thinking. That is what demand has driven this coin to become. And here's the humorous part, just for a second. People check their phone for notifications worth nothing, but ignore a penny that could rewrite their financial future. Funny, isn't it? Or maybe not so funny when you realize how real this is. The excitement builds when you understand one critical truth. Coins like this are not being made anymore. The supply is fixed. Every time one is lost, damaged, or sold cheaply, the remaining examples become even more valuable. This is why collectors move fast. This is why experts say hesitation is the enemy of wealth. And this is why those who recognize value early live differently than those who don't. Act 3 is where inspiration takes over. Because this story is not really about a coin. It's about awareness. It's about seeing opportunity where others see clutter. The people who benefit from rare coins aren't gamblers. They are observers. They understand that wealth often hides in ordinary places. A 1955 penny doesn't scream luxury. But its outcome does. Freedom. Security. Options. The ability to choose a better lifestyle. Imagine discovering that one small copper coin could pay off your home, fund your retirement, or finally allow you to live the life you worked decades for. Imagine passing that opportunity because you never took a second look. That is the difference between knowledge and assumption. Between curiosity and dismissal, the market for rare error pennies is not slowing down. It is accelerating. As more people become aware, competition intensifies. Prices rise. And those who waited wish they hadn't. This is not pressure. This is reality. History rewards those who act while others debate. So before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, before you assume it's probably nothing, remember this story. Remember that in 1955, a simple mistake created one of the most valuable pennies ever known. Remember that no mint mark is not a flaw, but a signature of origin. And remember that extraordinary wealth often hides in the most ordinary forms. Here's the final question, and it's one only you can answer. If there were even a small chance that a penny you own could be worth nearly $1 million, wouldn't it be worth looking? Because the people who already have are living very comfortably today. What if I told you that a single penny, the kind you've ignored in jars, drawers, and old coffee cans, could quietly be worth $955,000 today? Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. A penny. And not just any penny, a 1956 United States wheat penny with no mint mark, hiding in plain sight while most people spend their lives chasing money instead of recognizing it. If that sounds unbelievable, good. Because the most valuable opportunities always do it first, let me ask you something that may sting just a little. How many pennies have you thrown away in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Now here's the uncomfortable thought: what if one of them could have paid off your home, funded your retirement, or changed your family's future forever? This is not hype. This is history, rarity, and demand colliding at the perfect moment. Welcome to the story of the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny, a coin born in a time when America was rebuilding, dreaming big, and unknowingly creating one of the most sought-after error coins in U.S. numismatic history. In 1956, the United States Mint was striking pennies in massive numbers, using the iconic wheat reverse design that had symbolized American prosperity since 1909. These coins were never meant to be rare. They were meant to circulate, to be spent on candy, coffee, and newspapers. But during this high-speed production, something extraordinary happened. A small number of pennies left the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark and with a critical striking error that today separates pocket change from life-changing wealth. Here's where the excitement begins. Error coins are not mistakes, they are accidents frozen in time, and collectors pay fortunes for them because they can never be recreated. Once they're gone forever. And the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny error sits at the very top of that hierarchy. Ultra rare. Heavily documented. Fiercely pursued by elite collectors who already own everything else. Now imagine this. A collector walks into a major auction with deep pockets and one goal: to secure a coin that almost no one else can. Not because it's flashy, but because it's authentic, historical, and vanishingly scarce. When one of these pennies appears, bidding doesn't start calmly. It escalates. Fast. Because everyone in that room knows the same thing: another opportunity like this may not appear again for years. That is how we arrive at today's current market reality. The 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny error has reached a verified market value of approximately $955,000, and that number is not driven by hope. It is driven by demand. Demand from investors, legacy collectors, and wealth builders who understand something most people don't: tangible rarity outperforms hype. Here's a question to reset your attention. If a stranger offered you a winning lottery ticket, would you throw it away just because it looked ordinary? Of course not. Yet people do exactly that every day with rare coins, simply because they don't know what to look for, and this is where urgency enters the picture. The generation that saved these coins is aging. Estates are being liquidated. Collections are surfacing. And at the same time, new money is flooding into rare assets because people no longer trust traditional systems alone. That means the window to identify and sell a coin like this is not endless. It is now. What makes this penny so powerful is not just its value, it's the leverage it gives you. One coin can rewrite a financial story. It can eliminate debt. It can fund businesses. It can create freedom. And the most astonishing part? Many of these coins are still undiscovered, sitting in old rolls, inherited jars, safety deposit boxes, and forgotten drawers across the United States. Let's talk fear for a moment, the healthy kind. The fear of missing out on something that was already yours. The fear of learning too late that what you dismissed as insignificant was actually extraordinary. Because once a rare coin is sold quietly, authenticated, and absorbed into a private collection, it disappears from the public market. And with each disappearance, the remaining examples become even more valuable. Now here's a lighter thought, and yes, a little humor never hurts. Imagine telling your friends that the penny they laughed at is the reason you're now planning vacations instead of budgeting groceries. Funny how fast opinions change when copper starts looking like gold. The collectors who dominate this market don't chase trends. They chase certainty. And the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny error offers exactly that. Historical significance. Extreme scarcity. Documented demand. And a buyer pool that grows stronger every year. This isn't about luck. It's about awareness. The wealthy don't always earn more, they recognize value sooner. And right now, awareness is the dividing line between people who own rare coins and people who unknowingly give them away. As this story reaches its final act, here's what matters most. If you own old pennies, especially wheat cents from the 1950s, you are not holding spare change. You are holding potential. Potential that deserves proper evaluation, professional attention, and strategic action. Because in today's market, doing nothing is often the most expensive decision of all. Of the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a reminder that wealth often hides in places we overlook. That history rewards those who respect it. And that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest power. So before you dismiss that old penny, before you spend it, gift it, or forget it, ask yourself one final question. What if this is the one that changes everything? Because for some Americans, it already has. Imagine opening a dusty drawer in your home, pulling out a single brown penny you've ignored for decades, and realizing that tiny coin could be worth $929,000. Not a stock. Not crypto. Not real estate. A penny. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is unknowingly sitting on one of the most valuable 1-cent coins ever discovered. And here's the uncomfortable question most people never ask themselves: what if it's already in your possession, and you don't even know it yet? This is not a fantasy. This is not hype. This is American history, frozen in copper. In 1957, the United States Mint quietly released millions of wheat pennies. Most were ordinary. Most were spent without a second thought. But a very small number were born different. No mint mark. A critical error. A silent anomaly that would later become one of the most hunted coins in the country. And today, in the current market, this exact coin has reached a staggering value of $929,000. Almost $1 million for a penny. Yes, let that sink in. If your heart rate just changed, that's normal, and now here's where fear sneaks in. Because most people assume if it was valuable, someone would have told me already. But history tells a different story. Some of the rarest coins ever sold were discovered by ordinary people. Retirees, homeowners, parents cleaning out old jars. People just like you. The real danger isn't missing out on buying something new. The real danger is owning something extraordinary and letting it slip away for 1 cent. Let's step back for a moment and travel to post-war America. It's 1957. Elvis is on the radio. The economy is booming. Pennies are made fast, in massive quantities, and quality control is not what people assume it was. That's where opportunity is born. The 1957 wheat penny with no mint mark already commands attention, but when a mint error enters the picture, the coin transcends its face value and becomes a legend. A rare error isn't damage. It's a fingerprint. A one-time event. And collectors don't chase pennies. They chase stories, scarcity, and perfection inside imperfection. Here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. Ready? If pennies were boring, museums wouldn't lock them behind glass. Funny how the smallest coins make the biggest headlines, isn't it? Now back to the truth that matters. The 1957 no mint mark wheat penny error is in extremely high demand because it sits at the intersection of rarity, condition, and historical significance. High-grade examples with confirmed mint errors are aggressively pursued by elite collectors, auction houses, and private investors who understand one thing very clearly: real wealth preserves itself through tangible assets, and this is where excitement takes over. Because unlike stocks that crash overnight or digital assets that vanish with a password, this coin exists. You can hold it. You can protect it. And you can sell it into a market that is actively paying top dollar right now. The current valuation of $929,000 didn't appear out of nowhere. It's the result of demand exceeding supply at an extreme level. There are far more wealthy buyers than there are authentic coins. That imbalance is where million-dollar outcomes are born, but urgency matters. Markets move. Attention shifts. The people who profit are the ones who act before the crowd catches up. Every year, more wheat pennies disappear into private collections, never to be seen again. That means fewer opportunities for sellers and higher competition among buyers. If you've ever said, "I wish I had invested earlier," this is one of those moments where hesitation has a price. Now let's talk about lifestyle, because wealth is never just about money. It's about freedom. It's about waking up knowing you made a smart decision when others dismissed something as insignificant. Imagine funding retirement, eliminating debt, traveling freely, or leaving a legacy because you recognized value where others saw spare change. That's not luck. That's awareness, and here's another question to reset your attention. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own isn't something you need to buy, but something you already have? Think about that. The 1957 wheat penny lived through generations. It passed through hands that never noticed it. It waited. Coins like this don't disappear. They hide. And when they're finally discovered, they don't whisper. They change lives. Collectors today are not casual hobbyists. They are disciplined, informed, and well-funded. They understand that coins like the 1957 no mint mark wheat penny error are finite. No more will ever be made. That alone places it in a category most assets can never enter. Scarcity with proof. History with demand. And value that continues to rise as time moves forward. So here's the truth, spoken plainly and with authority. If you own old pennies, especially wheat pennies, ignoring them is no longer neutral. It's a decision. Either you investigate, authenticate, and position yourself to benefit, or you let opportunity quietly pass by. An opportunity, once gone, rarely knocks twice. This isn't about greed. It's about recognition. America was built by people who saw potential before others did. The 1957 wheat penny error is a reminder that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it sits silently in a jar, waiting for the right eyes to notice, and as we bring this story to a close, remember this feeling. The mix of curiosity, excitement, and urgency you feel right now exists for a reason. Because somewhere, possibly in your home, exists a small copper coin that could unlock a very big future. History has already done its part. The market has spoken. Demand is high. Value is proven. The only question left is simple.